So it's a brand new show. In fact, it's our first live show of 2022. Benjamin Nketia here, the tracker back on your screens on Citi TV. A lot to talk about because Ghana's AFCON campaign has come to a sudden halt. Well, a lot of people expected that worst case scenario, the Black Stars would at least make a round of 16 like they did in the last edition, or maybe progress a step further by going to the quarterfinals. I know people who said that if Ghana could make it back to the semi-finals again, we had to meet them at the airport with powder and food and stuff like that, because a semi-final berth would have been a really big deal based on the circumstance. Well, guess what? It did not happen. Ghana has retrogressed one more step following the last edition. It was a round of 16 exit at the hands of Tunisia last time around. This time, it was a group stage exit from Group C in a group that had Comoros, Gabon, and Morocco. I was there to witness it firsthand, and I'm back to review this with one of my good friends who was also there with me in Cameroon. But before we do that, there's a motivational video that's always essential to the show, always essential to how we build our everyday lives out there. And so what we are going to do is that we'll take a quick break. When we come back, our motivational show or video for today is about teamwork. It's about the values of teamwork. And it makes a lot of sense in the current context in which we are in currently. So stay tuned, sit back, and enjoy. Yes, so it indeed is all about teamwork. You win as a team. When you lose as a team, and everybody must take collective responsibility. And talking about losing as a team, that's what's happened with Ghana. And so we are back to pick up the pieces where everything has settled. Ghana's Black Stars crashed out of the AFCON in the group stage, Group C, like I did mention earlier. We've seen it all. We've been to the grounds where the games happen, the training sessions, the team hotels, the streets, everywhere. We saw it, and we are here to tell it. My good friend Sam Ziga, sports journalist and publicist for Ghana's Thomas Partey, is in the studio with me. Sam, it's good to have you on the show as always.
Content that receive. Good to be here.
Thank you very much, my brother. Merci, merci. Let's get into the talk of Ghana's AFCON. And I think that a good place to start would be the managers of the national team, the people who deal with the day-to-day operations of the national team. First of all, Ghana camped in Qatar. We heard that the camping was great and that facilities were good. The team went through the motions just as they had to and eventually ended up arriving late. I've heard versions of why we arrived late. Milo himself says that it was deliberate. But first of all, what I want to touch on has to do with the sleeping place of the national team, because where you sleep is very essential to your well-being and how you function as a person. The Black Stars spent their time at the Joga Palace, which is until they had to move on for the final group phase game. Now, if you look at the Joga Palace, the word is that the national team did not want the Joga Palace as a sleeping place initially. They wrote to CAF, about changing their sleeping place. CAF delayed, did not get back to them with a proper response, and they eventually settled into the Yoga Palace to compete in the competition. I've heard a lot of unpalatable things, things that I did not witness firsthand, but what I can tell you is that for a team hotel, for a team that is looking to do well, I think that the first thing that caught my attention was how chaotic the environment of the hotel was. Let's get into that first of all. Do you think that we settled in the best of places as far as this team is concerned? Do you think that the management committee did the best it could have for us in terms of where this team settled and competed?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I must credit the players.
Okay.
And then the team generally, because these are people coming from different jurisdictions, coming from different environments. Some are in clubs that are not used to such facilities, even though they came through from Ghana and all that.
True.
Played greater part of their careers back or out of Ghana. So you look at the differences in the environment, right from Qatar to the Jurga Palace.
Yeah.
There's a huge margin. There's a big difference between these two places. So for them to adapt and be able to manage the situation till the end of the group stages, I think I have to give them credit. Now let me come back to the hotel itself. You and I visited the facility, and it's in the middle of the town.
Yep.
A lot of noise, and if anyone knows Yaoundé very well,
basically a city that never sleeps.
They don't sleep in Yaoundé. It's more like from 12 to 12.
It's basically Oxford Street atmosphere.
That's the Osu life.
Basically.
And obviously, the players would feel it. And the environment will have a toll on the players. The environment would kind of have an impact. Because, of course, what you listen to or what you see tend to influence you, though intentionally or unintentionally. So the place wasn't the best of places to camp in the first place. I don't know what really went into it. I'm told that a lot of concerns were raised about the facility. People, I mean, the advanced party that went there raised complaints and look, we don't want this place. And a lot of bureaucratic, processes ended up, making us settle over there. And you look at how people troop in and troop out. It was different from the environment I saw when I visited the Hilton Hotel.
Exactly.
Somewhere just around that area where Egypt were based. Completely different environment. Look like you can't just get closer to the Hilton Hotel in Yaoundé.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Ghana.
So this is it. This is what it is.
That's the difference. And I also had a chance to visit
the... No, just elaborate a little bit for me. I mean, you visited the Jurga Palace, you visited the Hilton. Just contrast and compare for me.
So in comparing, the Jurga Palace looked like, I don't want to mention names here in Ghana, but it's more like you comparing a place like Kempinski and then
lower tier
hotel. So the Hilton is more classic, like a 5-star hotel. And the Jurga Palace, though people might classify it as a 5-star hotel, but it wouldn't match the quality of the Hilton hotel.
Even the environment degrades. I think the Jurga Palace, just on my eye test alone, is probably like a 3-star hotel.
Yeah, like a 3-star hotel. Hilton is top notch.
Hilton was top notch.
Top notch. The security and everything was class.
You mean you couldn't just walk in?
No.
Like a visitor just walking in?
No. And I also had a chance to visit where the Gabon team were based. Yeah, that was closer to the Jurga Palace as well, like 10 minutes away from it.
Remember that it's essential that you mentioned Gabon because they also, just like Ghana, had concerns with their hotel. They wrote to CAF the first time asking CAF to change the hotel. It wasn't changed. And then against the will of CAF, they uprooted themselves and left because they told the tournament organizers basically that, you know what, we just can't stay in this place. And I'm hearing that those were, again, pressures put on by guys like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Mario Lemina, two of the guys who have essentially fallen out of the Gabonese squad since then. But that just gives you a sense. Gabon were prepared to pay a fine because CAF initially fined them for moving without their permission, but they didn't care.
Well, I think Ghana, we took the safe approach. We didn't want to put too much into that.
If CAF won't move us, we'll just stay.
Exactly. We didn't want to, channel our energy into that because obviously it was also a very cool place that players could manage in terms of maybe accommodation and all that. Apart from that, when you're considering all the factors that plays into a competition or when players are camping, I think these things are very vital and important.
Yeah.
Looking at where Egypt were based, Hilton Hotel and the Jurga Palace in the township of Yaoundé, you could tell clearly that I was asking, are they better than us? But then again, I came back to the economies of these two countries. I'm sure maybe the Egyptians were ready to pay more
for the accommodation.
Exactly, for that. Because, look, it's quite expensive at Hilton Hotel.
And the Hilton is also where CAF housed its topmost officials.
Yeah, I saw quite a number of them over there with their cars parked all over. So you look at these two situations and say it's about the money. Maybe we didn't want to spend more on that after having a very good campaign in Qatar. So maybe we thought we could actually manage the Jeddah Palace, knowing we're going to stay there for our 2 games against Morocco and then Gabon, and then next we jet off to Garoua. So maybe that might have gone into the thinking from the officials, why they didn't push more. But I think that the difference was quite huge. It was like really, really clear for everyone to see. Hilton Hotel, the Jeddah Palace. I'm sure anyone who is asked to choose between these two hotels
and even we
by choosing Hilton.
The Le Rebuilda, I think it was called, the Garoua Hotel where the Black Stars housed when they got to Garoua. I remember the Nigeria Super Eagles were already there, and then they joined them. I mean, we didn't get a chance to basically scout that hotel properly, but even from the environment outside, you could tell it was a more secure, more serene, more appropriate place for a team to be than the Jeddah Palace. But let's move on from housing our team. But let's talk about the management committee generally in terms of the jobs they were supposed to execute. How would you rate their performance based on this competition?
Ben, to be honest, this has been a very disappointing campaign. So if you have to score anyone, I don't think anyone is taking close to even 5 over 10. Yes, I'll give them 3 over 10. Personally, you are supervising our campaign. And if things don't go well, you have to take responsibility. No matter what, you might have genuine excuses, you might have genuine concerns to raise. But once things don't go well, you have to take responsibility and, man up and say to yourself, things didn't go right. That's why we ended up this way. So with the management committee, I think that they didn't, do certain things right. Yes, they didn't do certain things right. And they didn't really stamp their authority or the kind of influence they possess in certain situations.
Do you care to elaborate just a little further?
I think it answers itself. In terms of actually stamping your authority, making people know you are in charge, making people believe in you that this situation, will be solved if it's brought forward to us. Making people understand that this is our job and this is how we want to do it. No one else influences it. No one else comes to actually, throw dust into our eyes. You understand? I'm trying to be a bit diplomatic in this situation, and I think it's a safer option though. But overall, I feel there are certain elements in this management team that have to look at themselves again. Look at themselves again in the sense that looking at their pedigree, looking at what they've achieved in terms of the game, their experience, they shouldn't be supervising certain incidents or certain, how do I call it, events. As far as our Black Stars is concerned. We've come way too... We've come a long way to put ourselves in this situation. I don't know if you are getting it. I don't know if viewers are also getting it.
I definitely get what you mean.
So I look at it, 0 over 10.
The hoteling situation is a classic example. It's definitely a classic example. If you are managing a team, security, welfare, health-wise, everything needs to be on point. I don't think they can say that everything was on point.
And then let me chip in this. You are managing the Black Stars. You manage every single thing in the Black Stars. The players, their food, their kits, their money, what else? Their water, everything.
Everything. Basically
absolutely everything. So it's your duty to make sure everything is right. Even the psyche of the players.
No, true.
Very key.
True.
If a player is not happy, if a player is not in the mood,
there needs to be a team psychologist on hand.
It's your duty to make sure that the player becomes happy. I'm not saying there were no efforts, but to some extent, I feel more could have been done. Yeah, because you are managing the team.
Well,
that's why you are the management committee of the Black Stars.
Yeah. You said that a lot of them will have to look at themselves again. I don't think a lot of them will get the chance to look at themselves again because if you've been following what's happening, the ministry have issued a statement expressing their displeasure with the technical team and also the management committee. So I'm hearing reports that there's a good chance that if Rajevac is a goner as we are expecting, the management committee will also follow suit and that a new committee will be constituted in its place. None of this is confirmed, but we are getting the inkling that that is the decision that Ghana is heading towards to, moving beyond Rajevac and moving beyond this particular technical team. Let's now turn our attention to the playing body. No, the technical team first, because they supervise the playing body, and then we'll get into the playing body itself. Sam, for me, the most striking thing about the playing body was the fact that Rajevac always seemed to be holding briefings with individuals that I believe were foreign to a lot of Ghanaians. If you watch the training sessions, you'd realize that every time he had to go into a consultation, he would consult Monsieur Stankovic, he would consult a few of the other guys basically on hand. While the video analyst, and then there was a Chilean in their midst and a few other guys who were foreign to most Ghanaians. That consultation doesn't appear to have yielded results because from what we saw on the pitch, what exactly were they consulting about?
Ben, having a lot of people around in terms of taking decisions and making the right calls tends to distort the plan or whatever.
The quality of the decision making.
Whatever decision you want to make. I felt at some point there were so many people just around that area. Just around that area. In terms of who is assistant coach, who talks to who says what to who, and who the player listens to. Yeah. Of course, Milo is the gaffer. He's the one in charge. He's the one to make the final call. He's the one to make the final screaming. That look, do this, do that, and do this. But when you find yourself in a situation whereby there are a lot of people saying different things to the players on the field of play at one point in time, you tend to confuse the entire play. And at some point, you get the players confused. They don't know what and who to listen to. From afar, that's what I figured out. That there are a lot of people.
There were too many voices
and too many consultations. And when there are too many consultations, you create the impression that you are not so sure about what you want to do. Although you might want to cross-check, double-check to make sure you're making the right call, or having an all-inclusive, administration or all-inclusive management. But sometimes it's really, really risky because you might end up getting
too many ideas.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it gets you confused. So I look at this team and I think that is what cost us a lot. Milo contacting Stankovic, contacting his interpreter, Maxwell Kunedu also over, there's a certain Chilean also there, and video analysts, all at the same time. Who do we listen to?
Now,
we are humans, actually.
I'd like to stop you there because I think this is where the FA need to provide us with some answers, because just before, when Rajevac came in, what we were told was that Kunedu had been appointed as a part-time assistant. Now, part-time underlined here. And then Otoado had also been appointed as a part-time assistant. We have not received any communication as at the time of this broadcast on why Otoado was not a part of the Ghana team. Nobody's told anybody why, if maybe he tested positive for COVID, if he was unwell, whether his club refused him entry. Nothing has been clarified. And as it stands now, I'm sure that on the books of the national team, Otoado is slated as a Black Stars assistant coach part-time. But we still don't have clarity on this particular matter.
Yeah, obviously, there's every reason to ask questions why Otoado wasn't in Cameroon. And there's not been any official communique stating why he wasn't there. You and I are just assuming that, look, possibly because Borussia Dortmund just couldn't let their man go. Yeah. And that's what everyone has been made to believe. Yeah.
I mean, those are the semi-official instructions. But the truth also is that there are reports that say that there was a mini bust-up between Otoado and Rahevac in, I believe, was it the Ethiopia game or the South Africa game? One of the games just before Ghana left for the AFCON, where Otoado was advising Rahevac to make a change towards the game, and Rahevac overruled him, and Otoado was upset. So eventually, pressmen, as nosy as we always are, we asked at the post-game presser what was going on in that exchange. And Rahevac basically had to emphasize that he is the head coach and that the buck stops with him. Well, it looks like the buck indeed does stop with him, because Otoado has not been cited with the national team since.
Well, a lot of, when you want to, analyze the entire situation and read meanings into every other situation, those who are having that analogy, I wouldn't fault them, because the situation has given us every reason to think in that direction. Yeah. A lot of things happen, and people can just...
Hold your thoughts there on a lot of things happening. Let's take our first break here on the show. When we come back, we'll continue the discussing on the technical team of the Black Stars, the composition, what they were supposed to do, what they fell short at doing, and also the way forward. Stay with us. Welcome back to the tracker here on Citi TV. We are doing a review of Ghana's AFCON campaign. We are on the technical team as things stand now. Ghana has 2 assistant part-time coaches. One was with the team at the AFCON. The other was absent from the AFCON, and we are still unsure why. Sam, what do you think we should do with our assistant coaching role going forward, especially with the hindsight of all that has happened at the AFCON?
I think it's about time we start getting serious about that job.
You mean the assistant coach?
Exactly. We don't need a part-time. We have to get someone who is permanent, someone who is ever ready to give us all to the national team. This job shouldn't be done on a part-time basis. Yep. I don't know what went into their thinking when they announced that Otoado will come part-time, Marshall Kunedo will come part-time. Maybe it was an ad hoc measure because of the time frame. But I think between that time and then now, we still have some time. Yeah. Between now and then March, where we'll be playing the World Cup playoffs, we have to take an entrenched decision that this is our technical team, headed by so and so. Your assistant 1, B is assistant 2, and this is the way forward. We don't want to put ourselves in this situation again. A manager who isn't focused, excuse my language, but who isn't focused because he's got club duties and also national duties.
Oh, of course, and that's well in perspective.
It's just one person. You can't get the best out of such a person. Obviously, attention is divided, and you wouldn't get him so committed as compared to getting someone fully employed as assistant manager 1 or assistant manager 2 to man the Black Stars. True. It's about time we look at the Black Stars as an institution, as an organization, and looking at the hierarchy. Let's abide with it. Let's go by,
it's actually good
the structures.
It's good you are mentioning this, because I've also heard in the past that whole concept of first assistant, second, having 2 assistants always creates a confusion of roles, because assistant 1 believes that as an assistant manager, this is my job to do. Assistant 2 also believes that as an assistant manager, this is my job to do. And then there's a clash of roles. There's a clash of designating roles to the individuals. And then there's always this animosity that will build up because person A believes that person B is crisscrossing into his role definition. Absolutely. Person B believes that person A is crossing over into his role definition. It just doesn't really help our team building like you're mentioning. So, do you still think that we need 2 assistants, or you think that once we clarify the situation, 1 assistant should be good enough?
Personally, I think 1 assistant is okay. In terms of going by the chain of command. If you want to have a very sound administration or a technical team,
yeah,
you need less numbers, lesser numbers.
You mean in this entire operation, the fewer the voices speaking, the better for everybody?
Absolutely, because assistant one, meaning what's his job there? Who is senior? Looking at the chain of command, who do I report to? Does assistant two report to assistant one?
Yeah. And from what you and I were observing, Stankovic might as well be the assistant head coach of the Black Stars, because he was the one Milo always consulted in training sessions. During games, he was the one who was always being consulted.
Yeah, and as humans as we are, sometimes, just as you mentioned, you wouldn't want to delve into someone else's arena. You wouldn't want to be seen as someone who is nosy or trying to poke your nose in someone else's affairs and all that. So just to cut this problem short, two coaches, so the main coach and then the assistant, and then we are good to go, just as it's done at a club level. Let's do it this way, and then make sure that everyone's duty is being cut out properly. Yeah. And then I think we would avoid some of these instances where a lot of voices will be entering the ears of these players, or even just around the team. Yeah. That creates or sparks loads of conversation or loads of controversies, actually.
Because even players will begin to speculate on who is the man in charge and whose instructions they listen to. Now that we are on the brink of that clarity of the assistant, let's delve into the national team head coaching role itself. So a lot has happened since Ghana arrived from Cameroon. What I can tell you is that the Ministry of Youth and Sports did hold a meeting with the Ghana Football Association. According to the ministry's language, it has lost confidence in the head coach and the technical team. So basically, the ministry is telling the Ghana Football Association to replace the head coach and also the technical team. What has not happened is that the FA, when things like this happen, the FA is supposed to release a statement saying that we are parting ways with Rajevac and so because we do not trust Rajevac's judgment and that we are moving on from him. It hasn't happened so far. That statement is yet to be released. So as it stands now, according to contractual issues, Rajevac is still head coach of the national team, at least according to contractual. Is that announcement or statement has been delayed because there are still legal issues to be sorted out. Rajevac, as we speak, is relaxing somewhere in cantonments. There's a picture that went viral of him relaxing, where people are saying things like, why does he have the audacity to be relaxing? Guys, I don't understand how that comes in. If Rajevac has been eliminated while coaching, if Ghana has been eliminated with Rajevac at the helm, it does not mean that he should cease having regular functions or doing regular things human beings do. You can enjoy beside your swimming pool. You can have your drink as you usually do. Exactly. It shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly. Sam. That shouldn't be a problem at all. And I was going to come to that. Ghana has been eliminated, and we can't cry over spilled milk.
Yep, it's happened already.
We can't keep, wallowing in sorrows. We just have to pick ourselves up and make sure that we plan again ahead of time.
Talking about planning, not to cut you, are you one of those of the opinion that Rajevac has run his race and must go?
Yeah, I think this time around his magic didn't work out, and once your magic doesn't work out, you just have to leave silently.
It's interesting you use the word magic, because at points I believe he was trying to do magic, because he was standing on the touchline doing nothing.
Absolutely, and sometimes when things are not going right, you don't have to force the situation. I have a feeling Rajevac wants to be part of Ghana's World Cup playoffs. He wants to make a statement. He wants to prove to Ghanaians that I am the one who came here in 2010, took the team through to the quarterfinals, and almost made the semi-final berth. Yeah. And you listen to managers, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola. Yeah. Once there's a defeat or sometimes things don't go right for them, they are always looking at the next available opportunity to rewrite the wrong. Yeah. And I know that's how Rajevac is feeling at this moment.
Even at his post-game presser, he emphasized that I was brought here to qualify Ghana to the World Cup, and so he wasn't having any of the "Are you going to resign?" questions.
Exactly. So for now, I know he's thinking that, look, we have a game to play against Nigeria, and I want to be the man in charge to make sure that Ghana makes that World Cup bet in Qatar.
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes you just can't force it. You need a new manager. You need someone who can just come in and hit the ground running immediately.
Yeah.
And there's this thing about manager, sorry. When there's a new gaffer in charge, every player wants to prove a point.
It's like a clean slate for everybody involved.
Exactly. There's that hunger naturally that every player would want to know, what can I do to impress this manager? So everyone brings on their A game. Everyone comes to the party. So I'm also looking at this. Should we name a manager ahead of match qualifiers? Obviously, we put ourselves in a very good position because the players that will be coming down
will be willing to play their hearts out in that game.
And you will find or derive that hunger from them. Is that natural? Is that natural? I'm hearing that Nigeria as well, Augustine Eguavoen has stepped down.
Yep.
That could also be to the advantage.
Yeah.
Any new manager that comes in could get the best out of these players. So that makes that tie a really cracking one, to be honest. I'm already looking forward to that.
It really will be indeed.
I'm looking forward to that, bro.
Now, just talk to me a little bit about succession, right? So we've all agreed down here that the head coaching job or the head coaching situation is only a minute part of the Black Stars problem. But it indeed is a problem that needs fixing. Whether long-term or short-term or mid-term, we need to fix that problem. If Ghana is taking the decision to remove Rahevac, I've already started hearing names again. Ibrahim Tanko has been thrown in the mix. Otoado has been thrown in the mix. George Boateng has been thrown in the mix. A couple more names. Chris Hughton has been thrown in the mix. That sounds like a fantasy for me, but I will still entertain it because Chris Hughton comes for the kind of money that we are not ready to discuss down here. So I still treat that as a fantasy, except if he has a drastic change of heart and will come down to a certain level. And I'm sure that, again, if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be proven wrong. If Chris Hughton will take the Ghana job, minimum, I'm sure it will be $50,000. And that will be him actually really, really, really coming down to be able to meet us at the point of our needs. But where do you think we should go? I mean, our Nigerian brothers in Garoua were attempting to give us advice on who to be hiring as our next coach. They said that we should stop entertaining these white physical education teachers and actually empower local capacity. Well, local capacity did well for them in the group stage. It didn't do too well in the knockout phase. I've never really been of the opinion that color is an issue here when it comes to competence and knowledge. But what do you think? Do we go with another expert? Do we hire one of our known names in Ghana? What is ideal for us at this point?
Well, Ben, like you rightly mentioned, color doesn't come into play in this situation. Sometimes you looking at Ghana, whoever won as the AFCON, we've never had a white man winning
all
the
indigens.
AFCON. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you go to the other side, on the flip side. We had a white man qualify to the World Cup for the very first time.
Yeah.
So both, races
they've all contributed their quota.
Exactly. They've been helpful to the national team, the cause of the national team. But at this point in time, I'm looking at competence. Regardless of where the person is coming from.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding what he has achieved, locally or internationally, I want to see a competent manager manning our national team. Someone who can make those rip-roaring decisions. Someone who can put his feet down.
Yeah.
Someone who can take those decisions that everyone will just make it slip away. Someone who can look into the eyes of a player and tell him, look, today you're not starting. You're not starting because of A, B, C, D. This is what I want for my team. And D can provide me with that. So you are not starting. That's the kind of manager we need now in our national team.
We thought Rahevac was that guy.
I have to be brutally honest. I have to be brutally honest. We need a manager like that. Yes, we thought Rahevac would be the man to do that. But at some point,
He's lost his teeth.
We were in Cameroon together.
He has lost his teeth and he cannot bite again.
It's like, sorry to say this, but some of the players got into his head. And it tends to influence a lot of things.
Yeah. Decisions that he had planned to make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think he was a bit emotional. He was too emotional on certain occasions. And that didn't play to our favor. Yeah. It didn't play to our advantage. It rather knackered us. It rather, threw us away from the main point or the main reason why we were at the AFCON. So I'm looking at a manager who would be very, very, strong and firm. Someone who could look around and pick a team on any day without thinking twice and taking responsibility for the team he has picked. That is what we want. And you've mentioned certain names. Ibrahim Tanko, very good coach, won the AFCON with Cameroon when he was assistant to Hugo Bruce. Very fantastic manager. I'm also looking at Masudi Dramani.
That's a name that I missed out on.
Highly respected manager. He's got it all. As to whether he would agree to come and then take charge of the national team, it's another matter. George Boateng, fine. He's got some potential, but not really used to the system here. I think cultural balance or cultural issues will also be an issue for him. And then we have Otoado. Otoado already has come to have a taste or a crack with the team and all that. I don't know if he would love to gamble by leaving his job at Borussia Dortmund to come and take charge of the Black Stars on a full-time basis. That's also another issue to discuss on a different day. But looking all around, I want a competent manager. A very competent person. Per the books of the ministry, the FA,
make big decisions.
I'm for that. I wouldn't stick my neck out and say this manager should be the coach of the Black Stars, or this person should be the coach of the Black Stars. But I need someone who could make those big calls on a given day, just in the interest of the country and no individual.
Just a single liner from you before we go for our next break. So there's the mindset that our players tend to respect white managers more than they do our own Ghanaian managers. We've mentioned a couple of Ghanaian managers who are not so much basically in Ghana, but they've cut their teeth out there. They know the system out there and whatnot. Do you think, having been around this crop of players, that if, let's say, a George Boateng, an Otoado, a Tanko is placed at the helm, they will give that person that respect? Just a simple answer.
But I think it's relative. It depends on the personality of that person, whoever is coming in. Whether white, black, green, red, or whatever. It depends on the person's demeanor or the person's posture. You are treated how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
And let me go back and talk about Kwesi Appiah.
Yeah.
The players really respected him, even though he was a black man. Yes.
There was always the illusion that Appiah rather was not respected, but if you were closer to the team,
you'll notice that they really respect him. So it's neither here nor there. You could have a white manager who could also receive bashes and massive or gross disrespect from the players.
Yeah.
So for that, I think that it depends on the person's posture,
depends
his
on
personality,
how he carries himself and how he carries
himself and all that.
Interesting thoughts there from Sam Ziga. Let's take our final break. When we come back, we'll get to dissecting the playing body itself, the guys who actually did the business on the pitch. Stay right here with us on the tracker. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the tracker here on Citi TV. We are doing a review of Ghana's AFCON campaign. We've done the management committee, we've done the technical team. Now let's get to the playing body, the guys who did the business on the pitch. So it was supposed to be a 28-man squad, but some people didn't turn up. Afenajan turned down the invitation on personal grounds. Mohamed Kudus could not make the competition, even though throughout Ghana's entire stay in the group stage, there was word that Kudus would be arriving this day or that day. He eventually never arrived. Mubarak Wakaso also traveled with the team and did not log a single second of football. He spent his time running laps around the training pitch, trying to keep fit whilst his guys were working out and trying to figure out the coach's plans. Sam, let's start off with the playing body. Let's start off with the first game against Morocco. Ghana lost that game by 1-0. So there you have it. The Jojo Wollacott was Ghana's first choice goalkeeper in this particular team. I've heard mixed reactions on Wollacott. I think that Wollacott was decent. I don't think he was extraordinary. I don't think he was bad. But people are literally slating him for that Comoros defeat, saying that every ball that was played on target basically ended up in the back of the net. Your assessment quickly of Wollacott.
But I think he was decent as well. I agree with you on that. None of the goals against Comoros was Jojo Wollacott's fault. To be honest, we're both in Garua, and we saw the action clearly.
Yeah.
Most of the goals were really difficult to defend or to actually react to.
Yeah.
Than as simple as we are seeing it outside. So I think that he is decent. He was decent on the day. He was decent in our 3 games.
Yeah.
Just that he wasn't lucky. He wasn't fortunate enough in certain situations. Sometimes, as a goalkeeper, you need a bit of a luck on your side.
True.
I look at the Comoros goalkeeper, his first game, second game, and third game. And I think, in as much as he's a very good goalkeeper, sometimes he had luck on his side.
True.
And that was just it. Jojo Wollacott was on the other side of it. Didn't get the luck he needed, but the goals he conceded were not goals that
you can blame him for. Now, just a big question on Wollacott. When Ofori comes back into the team, does he retain his status as number 1, or does he take a step back?
I think Ofori goes back straight into the number 1 slot.
Number 1 slot.
Ofori is our number 1 goalkeeper. He goes back straight into his slot.
End of discussion there. Let's move on to right full back. Let's talk about right back, which generated a lot of controversy. And the Yadom played in all of our games, actually, appeared to be injured in the second game. And the word was that he might not play the third game. But surprise, surprise, Philemon Bafo, who was hyped up to be the one going to play in that third and final game, ended up not being on the team sheet or not being in the starting 11 when we got there. Yadom appeared once again. Your assessment of the Reading right back?
Well, and Yadom looked like he played in the competition through pain. I didn't see him to be explosive.
Yep.
I didn't see him
reluctant going forward.
He was way too cautious in our 3 matches, and I think that really didn't add up to our attacking play. Sometimes you would need your fullbacks to barge forward, making those crosses, making those dribbles, roll into tackles. But I saw less of that from Andy Yadom. Obviously, because he wasn't
fully fit.
From the look of things, he was like he was managing a situation. He was managing himself really well. Limped throughout the game against Gabon, and then against Comoros. He tried to manage the situation. Was looking like someone who didn't really want to barge forward. Didn't really want to take that risk going forward. So I would rate him as. Decent. Yeah, decent.
Does he retain his position as our number 1 right back? Just a quick answer. We don't have a lot of time. We need to breeze through a lot.
I think that's a position that we need to have a relook at.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on to our centre-back pairing. Danny Amate, Alexander Jiku. Quick assessment of them.
Both players were solid. My thinking. I felt they grew game by game as the tournament was actually progressing. Jiku in particular, he was by far our best defender in the competition. He looked like a very solid player, looked like someone who was really willing to read throughout the game, right from the blast of the whistle to the end of it. He was someone who actually wanted to, do more, keep that defensive shape in line. Then again, Amate had a very fantastic first game. Second game,
not so much
lukewarm. And then the third game came where everyone actually saw what actually happened. So the defenders were not bad. Our centre backs were not bad on the day. On any day, I'll pick them to man our
left back
defense.
Baba Rahman.
He also had a very decent run.
Decent tournament.
Very decent.
Let's move it on to Baba Idrisu.
by far our best midfielder in the competition until he got injured. Baba Idrisu was putting in a shift right from the first game, the second game until he got injured. I think that
he was basically tracking back for Baba Rahman
doing
at
every
point.
single thing, doing what he was required to do. And props to the young man. Just unfortunate he got injured along the line.
Thomas?
Thomas had a decent showing. Per his standards, I thought we could have gotten more from Thomas at the competition. Admittedly, a lot of factors came into play that actually stifled what he could do or what he could present to Ghanaians. So on a day, I also rate him 4.
These ratings are brutal.
4. No Ghanaian player is getting 5. So I'll rate him 4.
Daniel Kofi
Standards 4 as well.
Kofi
4 as well. 4 over 10.
Let's talk about Kamaldeen Sulemana. Quick thoughts on him.
I touted him to be our starman for the tournament, but hey, this is African football, where the golfing class of African teams is beginning to narrow.
It has narrowed significantly.
You look at Kamaldeen, the kind of things he does against opponents in the French League, and we expect him to outmuzzle, outbully, do a lot of defenders a lot of harm in the competition. But hey, this is African football where a lot of close-ups happen, and he didn't really get his tournament. It's a tournament to forget for him.
Joseph Pinto?
Fantastic.
Didn't get as much playing time as his play
but he was
deserved.
able to prove his point, prove that he's someone we should be looking at in the near future. He's got loads of potential and should be starting games for the Black Stars.
Let me lump them together. They are you brothers. Quick thoughts. We have just 1 more minute to go.
With the experience they have, I think they had a pretty poor showdown. Andre had a good game against Gabon until a few decisions actually swept away his good works. And per his experience and the leader of the team, you look at it and think that we could have gotten more from him, just as I mentioned with Thomas Partey. We could have gotten more from them as well. So will I use? Well, I'm combining it. I'll give them 3 over 10.
3 over 10.
Per their experience.
Not the most glowing rating from my analyst here, Sam Ziga. Sam was up here, up in Cameroon with me, up close with the team everywhere and all that. So he knows exactly what he's talking about. Thank you very much for joining us today on The Tracker. Same time next week on Citi TV. We'll be right back.